Thank you. Hello everyone, it's me, Samuel Taylor Ackroyd, and good morning from Edinburgh Airport in Scotland. This morning I am going to be flying with the German national carrier Lufthansa on board one of their Airbus A320neos over to Frankfurt in Germany. Now, as is usually the case, I have no luggage to drop off, so I can just head straight inside and head straight upstairs to security without going to the check-in desks. So let's head inside now. Well, I certainly did not expect the terminal building to be so busy at roughly 20 to 4 in the morning. Apologies for the loud music in the background. There is nothing I can really do about that, but I'm just approaching the security checkpoint right now. So I will see you all once I get airside. Yeah, it's definitely busier than I thought it would be at this time in the morning. Alright, so I'm now airside, and that security experience was super quick. I was basically in and out within just 2 minutes, and even though it was busier than I first expected, like I said, it only took about 2 minutes. Now, the duty-free store is not open yet, which means that we have to walk through a corridor that normally just staff members use, since it's before 4 o'clock in the morning, meaning that pretty much nothing is open yet. So thank you. Now, just off to the side of what is the now closed duty-free store, closed until 4 o'clock in the morning, when pretty much everything in the airport is scheduled to be opened. Just off to the side there is these water features, so definitely bring your water bottle with you and take advantage of the free water. Alright, so that's my water bottle all filled up, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Always make sure that you drink plenty of water when you fly, so that way you do not get dehydrated. Oh, I can see our A320neo parked up, and it looks like we will be boarding the A320neo from gate number 11 today. So right in the heart of the departure lounge. So there's the A320neo, which will fly me over to Frankfurt in Germany this morning. This A320neo is registered as Delta-Alpha India November Juliet and is 7 years old. It performed its first flight in October 2017 and was delivered to Lufthansa 1 month later in November of 2017, and it has flown with only Lufthansa and no other airline. So it is now approaching 4 o'clock in the morning. It's about 3:58 in the morning, meaning that Wetherspoon and pretty much everything else in the departure lounge is about to open. And as you can see here, the queue for Wetherspoons is quite long, but I'm actually going to go join that queue and have a Wetherspoon breakfast this morning. So breakfast ended up arriving within just minutes of ordering it at the bar. So as you can see, I've gone for the traditional breakfast here at Wetherspoons, and I also ordered an additional 2 pieces of black pudding to go with it, and I've also got a pint of orange juice as well. And as you can see, it's fairly busy. There's still a few empty tables scattered around, but all these people are no doubt traveling on some of the first wave flights, which is exactly what I'm doing, and no doubt they've all come here for a nice breakfast to fill them up before their early morning flight, as well as have an early morning pint. Well, that Wetherspoon's breakfast certainly hit the spot, and I'm definitely full up now. So now all I really have to do now is just relax a little bit until the boarding process of my flight to Frankfurt begins. Roughly an hour or so after finishing off my breakfast, I spent most of the time just sitting around the seating area around gate 11 and enjoying the views of the A320neo that I would be flying on. Eventually, it was time for the boarding process to begin. The first 3 rows of seats are business class, and I was sat right behind the business class cabin in seat 4F, in the first row of economy seats. Once the crew announced that the boarding process was completed, I was in for a real treat. I had all 3 seats on the right side of row 4 all to myself. Not only that, but I also had a fantastic view of the engine, so I definitely got really lucky on this flight. We would end up pushing back roughly 2 minutes early, so even better. Now let's get ready for our departure and head to runway 24 for takeoff. So the crew have just come around the cabin serving complimentary bottles of water, which is something that I always take advantage of, and something that everyone should take advantage of, so that you don't dehydrate while flying. The crew have also just come around handing out complimentary little Lufthansa chocolates. Now then, let me give you a seat tour. So the seat that I am sat in on this flight is 4F, which is directly behind the business class cabin, hence why there's these curtains right in front of me. Legroom is pretty generous for someone who is over 6 foot tall, and the fact that I have the two seats next to me free allows me to put my bag and my jacket underneath the seat that is just in front of the seat next to me, which allows me to have more leg room and therefore a more comfortable journey. Here we have a seat back pocket, which, as you can see, is what I'm using to keep my bottle of water in. Here we have a tray table, which is quite large and also has 2 indents for 2 drinks. Above the tray table we have the safety card for the A320 and A320neo, Lufthansa's onboard delights menu, and a duty-free catalogue. There's also little coat hooks on the sides of the seats, and on the armrests there's a button to recline the seat. And as you would have seen already, seat 4F has an excellent view of the wing and engine. Here is a little look at the safety card. Here is a look at the onboard delights menu, which has a pretty good selection of food and drink to buy on board the aircraft. The duty-free catalogue also has a pretty good selection of things to buy, and it is also very AvGeek friendly, as there is some aviation memorabilia on offer. Personally, I'm not someone who buys duty-free on board planes, however, it is nice to have a flick through if you're bored. So I am just in one of the 2 lavatories at the rear of the A320neo, and even though there's plenty of space between my head and the ceiling, there's definitely not a lot of room to stand. However, I can't really complain because this toilet has everything you need: the sink, soap, and of course the toilet itself. And there is a baby changing table as well, which is nice and sturdy. So all in all, a pretty good flight so far, and in fact I was actually just speaking to the 3 crew members who are actually just standing outside, and they actually noticed my Lufthansa Boeing 747-400 t-shirt. And I asked them if they could ask the pilots if it's possible for me to have a little flight deck visit when we land in Frankfurt, and they said yes, that they will ask. So I will no doubt have a flight deck visit at the end of the flight, because this crew were very enthusiastic when when they saw my 747 t-shirt, and then I ended up chatting to them about my recent trip to Los Angeles and another trip that I have planned for September to fly on board another 747-400 with Lufthansa. So an absolutely fantastic flight, and a good job to the crew on this flight as well. And the fact that I have 3 seats to myself adds that extra bit of comfort to this flight for me personally. Now, I've only just noticed this, but I thought I would point it out because I find it quite amusing. There is a cigarette ashtray just on the door here. which is weird to see considering that this aircraft is only 7 years old and smoking has been illegal on planes for far longer than 7 years. So why is there an ashtray in this lavatory? Also, I'd just like to point out that it is extremely difficult to actually be able to sit on the toilet in the rear lavatories on Lufthansa's A320neos. So someone who is way bigger than me is definitely going to struggle to be able to sit down. Alright, so I'm now back at my seat after paying a quick visit to the lavatories and chatting to the crew, and I've also noticed that this flight is definitely not a full flight, and in fact the last 3 rows of seats there was no one occupying those seats at all, so the back of the plane is fairly quiet, and I think probably about 80% of the passengers on this flight have been fast asleep since we took off from Edinburgh. So it's been a very quiet journey, and definitely very comfortable thanks to the fact I've got no one next to me. And the crew on this flight are absolutely fantastic, and they're definitely very enthusiastic about the fact that they have an av geek like myself on board, and they definitely love my Lufthansa 747-400 t-shirt, and they said that they would organise a flight deck visit for me once we arrived at the gate in Frankfurt. Now I must say that this flight was definitely not cheap, and although that's because of the fact that I booked a one-way ticket between Edinburgh and Frankfurt, I did not book a return journey, which I will explain why shortly. But basically the economy light fare was just over £183 and just under £17 to select a seat near the front of the aircraft. And my seat selection has been going backwards and forwards a little bit over the last couple of weeks. What I mean by that is the fact that this flight has had its scheduled aircraft changed a few times. When I first booked this flight, it was scheduled to be an A320-200 with sharklets. Then about a week ago it changed to an Airbus A319, and then it changed to an Airbus A320-200 without sharklets, and in fact it was actually supposed to be one of the Star Alliance liveried A320-200s that did this flight. But then, roughly 24 hours before this flight, it changed to this Airbus A320neo. Now, the reason that I didn't book a return ticket with Lufthansa is because I'm not actually flying back with Lufthansa from Frankfurt to Edinburgh, which is obvious enough already since I don't have a return flight booked. But this flight is more of a repositioning flight for me, because today I am on a day trip to fly on board one of Condors Boeing 757-300s. So what my plan is to fly on this flight from Edinburgh to Frankfurt, and then I've got about 3 hours in Frankfurt airport, and then I'm going to fly with Condor on board one of their Boeing 757-300s down to Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands. And then I've got about 4 hours and 20 minutes kill time in Gran Canaria before flying back home to Edinburgh again with Ryanair on board one of their Boeing 737 MAX 8-200s. So it's definitely a very long day, but it's worth it because I wanted to get on board one of Condor's Boeing 757-300s before they retire. And videos from that flight will be featured on my channel after this trip report goes out, so stay tuned for those videos because I guarantee you will not want to miss them. And I'm very, very excited to be able to fly on board the 757 for the first time, and I'll also be sitting in a seat which has a perfect view of the Rolls-Royce RB211 engine, so I'm definitely very hyped up for my connecting flight down to Gran Canaria when I arrive in Frankfurt. Alright, so we have now begun our descent into Frankfurt Airport, so enjoy these clips of the approach and the landing into Frankfurt Airport. We ended up arriving roughly 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Well done, Lufthansa, you have done me proud once again. The crew on this flight were absolutely fantastic. The seats on the A320 family of aircraft are also fantastic, and we also arrived early, which is always a bonus. I was also allowed a flight deck visit once we parked up, and in that clip you can hear me and the pilots having a bit of banter about a feature on the aircraft known as the Christmas tree, which is basically when all the lights in the flight deck light up all at once as a test to make sure that they all work. We also got to disembark the aircraft by stairs as we were parked on a remote stand, which is always an enjoyable experience for us AV-geeks.
Kevin Crew, all doors in park.
It's a little early in the year, but...
Oh yeah, far too early. But it's never too early.
For Christmas tree, yeah?
Yeah, for this sort of Christmas tree at least, no. No, always got time for this sort of Christmas tree indeed.
Ja, gibt genügend, die es nicht sind. Also auch bei uns.
Bei Bonus Initiative alles wahrscheinlich gehabt.
Ja.
140 Folgen?
Ja.
Riding a bus at Frankfurt Airport is always such a wonderful experience, thanks to these fantastic views of Lufthansa's Boeing 747s and A340s.
Hast du jetzt das Richtige oben drauf stehen? Ne?
Das war nicht einmal schwarz.
Egal, lieber so anstatt gar nicht.
Das sperren sie mir hier ab.
Ja. Genau, Wasserwerfer ist auch irgendwo hier oder so, ja? Was denn? Wir sehen uns hier.
Well, that's me now arrived in Frankfurt, and now I need to catch my connecting flight down to Gran Canaria with Condor on board one of their Boeing 757-300s, which will be the next trip report after this one. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Lufthansa for such a great flight yet again. Stay safe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.